بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيد الأنبياء والمرسلين حبيبنا وحبيب رب العالمين رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم وتب علينا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم. Alhamdulillah, by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's fadl, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's karam, we can resume our discussion, our weekly dars of Ridadul Saliheen. The last 2 weeks we were off. I was out of town. Inshallah, as I said, Friday, during tafsir time, we'll give some karguzari and speak about what happened, inshallah, on Friday, after Maghrib, inshallah. As for the hadith, which chapter were we in? Do you remember? Sometimes after 1 week we don't remember. So after 2 weeks gap, the chapter of mujahada, right? The chapter of struggling for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's pleasure and struggling against the nafs. So the 12th hadith in this chapter, الثاني عشر عن أبي فراس ربيعة بن كعب الأسلمي خادم رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم ومن أهل الصفة رضي الله عنه قال. Okay, let me ask before, who has heard of this Sahabi? Abu Firas, Rabi'a bin Ka'b al-Aslami. Anybody heard of him? No. Heard of him? Anybody can I have a hand? Has anybody heard of this Sahabi? Abu Firas, Ka'b. You've heard of him? MashaAllah. So, what's known about him? Rabi'a bin Ka'b. Okay. So this Sahabi, Rabi'a bin Ka'b radiyallahu anhu, number one, the greatest honor that he had was he was the khadim of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, the one who served Allah's Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, fil hadari was safari. Meaning when Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam was in Medina, he would be at Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam's service, to the extent that he was called Hilsul Masjid or Min Ahlasil Masjid, one of the fixtures of the masjid, meaning he's always there. When you have a fixture in your house, you put a rug somewhere, you put a vase somewhere, these things don't move. They're always there, right? They stay in one place. He was known as Hilsul Masjid because he'd always be in the masjid. And he would always be waiting for Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam's khidmah. So what he would do is he was also from Ahlul Suffah, right? So for Ahlul Suffah, he would stay in the masjid. He dedicated his life to studying, learning about the deen. And then what he would do was he would try to sleep near Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam's room, so that if he heard anything from Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he expressed a need, he'd be able to help him. When Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam would come out, he would prepare water for him to make wudu when he would come out for tahajjud. He would put the jani maz down. He would take care of these things for Allah's Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. This is fil hadar in Medina. And fil safar, when Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam was traveling, he would accompany Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam on travel, and he would be his khadim. He would help him as well. Imagine a person like this. We'll learn a couple of things. Number one, I asked him about maybe 20 people here right now, right? Maybe less, around 20 people. Nobody's heard of him. Yet this Sahabi, he was so close to Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. We'll see from this hadith. But just from what I described, day in, day out, being front and center for the service of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. In Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam's private moments, nobody's there. Tahajjud time, that's personal. You pray in your house, right? Now, he's there waiting to give Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam the water of wudu. That means he's very close to Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, yet he's not known. So we learn from this that, qabuliyah is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accepts a person. Every person that's great in the eyes of Allah and His Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam doesn't need to always be recognized. Recognition, shuhra, fame does not equal acceptance in the eyes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Right? I always say this. I'm sure there's muqtadis, musallis here that are more pious than me. I know. I could take qasam and say that. That there's people, you are better than me. No problem. Right? Just because my face is front and center, that doesn't mean anything unless Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accepts me. Inshallah He will. Right? But the main thing is a person does things for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's pleasure. Whether or not people recognize them, people know them, that doesn't matter. Their reward is preserved with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay? And this Sahabi, he narrated 4 hadiths. He died in the year 63. Another thing we learned from this, I'm just saying it not for anything, I'm saying as a thing of adab. And your kids aren't here, so it's not like I'm telling them, but it's something you could tell them. And you don't have to tell them in regard to me. Tell them in regard to whoever else. Look, this Sahabi, Rabi'a bin Ka'ab, he was from Ahlul Sufa, meaning he was a student in Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam madrasa, right? There's different types of students. There's the students, they just come, they do their lesson, they leave. And when the student is in madrasa, I'll tell you, the teacher puts all the attention, efforts, everything on the student. Your whole heart and mind is consumed by these 15, 20 kids that are in front of you. 2 years, 3 years, 4 years. Then what happens, they finish their hifz, there's a big dawah, everything. And then what happens, I'll say 80%, they don't keep the relationship. After that, they don't talk, they don't come back. Once in a while, if they happen to come here for someone's dawah, they'll come and they'll say salam. And that's it. And I'm busy, every teacher is busy. We don't have time to keep the relationship either. It's a student's job to keep the relationship with the teacher, right? Like I call my teachers, I'll go visit them. I don't, call except here and there. It's a student's job, right? But that's fine. But then there's some students, and usually it's the students that were not good. The good students, they're in and out a lot of times. Those bad students, they see, oh, he got mad at me, he did this, he said this, but he really cared about me and he helped me after class and he made dua with this, that. They're the ones that they remain close, right? But what I mean is there's all types of students. Some they come and they go. And there's others that they don't just make that relationship teacher-student relationship. What they'll do is they'll go out of their way to serve their teacher, to help their teacher, to be a khadim to their teacher. This is what we were taught in madrasa. We would always, even now, as a Mufti Rabbani Sahib, if he's here, I would always go. And again, I'm saying this why? To teach people. This is not taught anymore. Maybe some of you guys remember this from your childhood, but I'll take qasam, your children don't do this. They don't have any concept of it. They'll think that it's a weird thing. Mufti Rabbani, if he comes, I always go, I'll take his shoes, I'll put them by the door or somewhere, so he doesn't have to bend over and get them later on. Qari Ilyas Sahib, same thing, right? This is just adab that we learn. Right? This is what we should do for our teachers. Again, I'm not saying for me, I'm just saying so you could teach your children, for whoever their teachers may be, so that they don't become mahroom in the future. Ba'adab ba'nasib, ba'adab ba'nasib. Right? So this Sahabi, what he did, he went out of his way, he said, I'm not just a student here, rather I'm going to go out of my way to get the barakah of my teacher by trying to assist him in any way. And the result of that we'll see in this hadith. Okay, so قال, he says, كنت أبيت مع رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. I would spend the night with Rasulullah صلى الله عليه وسلم. Again, what this means is that he would sleep near Rasulullah صلى الله عليه وسلم's room. So when he heard Rasulullah صلى الله عليه وسلم come outside, he would be prepared to assist Rasulullah صلى الله عليه وسلم. فآتيه بوضوئه. Okay. So he said, I used to sleep with the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam. فآتيه بوضوئه. I bought his wudu, the water with which he would make wudu, wahajatihi, and whatever other things he needed, janimas, towel, whatever it is. Okay? Faqala. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, he said to him one day, Salni, ask of me. Because sometimes when the khadim, when the makhdum, meaning the one who they're serving, becomes very happy, whether it's a king, whether it's a parent, sometimes they're in the mood, they tell the one who's serving them, ask me for something, I want to reward you, I'm so happy with what you've done. Parents do this all the time with their children. Sometimes their children does something, they really help them out, say, what do you want to do? Let's go somewhere, let me get you something, right? So now Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, he said that, look, you've done this khidmah for me. And there's nobody who's more kareem than Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. And a kareem person, a noble person will always recompense somebody who helps them. And Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, akram, the most generous and most noble, so Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam says, ask of me. He could have asked somebody else. There are many people in the Ahlul Sufa. Who did he ask? He asked the khadim. Because they have that relationship, they have that ta'alluq now. Because he's serving him. It's not just the teacher-student relationship, it's going beyond that. Okay? And from this, some of the muhaddisun, this is beautiful. They say that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, one of his khasa'is, one of the special qualities of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is أَن يَخُصَّ مَنْ شَاءَ بِمَا شَاءَ. That he could, Allah gave him the ability to give whoever whatever honor he wanted. So for example, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, Khuzaymah radiallahu anhu, your shahada is equal to the shahada of 2 people. And he told, other sahabi that this is for you, this is for you, this honor is for you. You'll see in the next hadith, Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam told this one child, you'll live for 100 years. Meaning, through Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But Allah gave Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, you could give special honors to this person or that person, whoever you want to, I will take care of it. Because of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it's as if he said that. So now he said, ask him. If somebody asks you, if Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, not somebody, Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, ask of me, what will you ask for? A lot of people ask for dunya. I'm struggling with my dad, let me get out of dad, make me a king. People would come to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and they would ask for wealth, camels, slaves, governorship, position. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was asked for all of this. فَقُلْتُ. But this Rabi'a bin Ka'ab, somebody who spent so much time in the suhbah of Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, I'll tell you one funny story. I'll get in trouble for it. Inshallah, I won't get in trouble for it. I was there in England, right? In England, they told me 20 seconds before the bayan, they like give the bayan in Urdu. And right before the bayan, even Hazrat Abdul Rahim, he said, Hyderabadi bayan karega Urdu mein. I talk, but then like I don't give any bayan in Urdu. So I'm like, oh man, what do I do? It's 20 seconds before I have to give a bayan in Urdu. So I went up, I said a joke. And the reason I remember, as I said, he spent a lot of time in the suhbah of Rasulullah. It's a joke, and it'll be in Urdu, so then people don't have to get offended. And if somebody gets offended, we're going to remove from the YouTube channel. But there was somebody, he came to a great scholar. The scholar, he passed away maybe 10 or so years ago. He came from another country, the scholar, he lived in Pakistan, he came to him. And he asked him, so that the scholar, he asked him, Kyun aaye ho? Why did you come? And then so he said, Hazrat, Urdu is not his first language. He said, Hazrat, मैं आपसे सोहबत करने आया. Right? He said, Zalim, he's like, मैं तो बूढ़ा हो गया, जवानी में आना था. Right? So, किसी की सोहबत में रहना, that's one thing. सोहबत करना कोई कुछ और चीज़ है, right? Anyways, just let it go. Alright. So he spent time in the suhbah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the companionship, the company of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So what did he say? As'aluka murafaqataka fil jannah. I ask for your companionship in Jannah, ya Rasulullah. This is all I want in this dunya. This is what I want in the hereafter as well. فقال Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, أو غير ذلك. What about something else? 2 things. Number 1, look at what he asked for. He didn't ask for anything from the dunya. This is the perspective that he had, right? Now Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he recognized that it's something that's difficult. So when somebody asks something, sometimes you have to test them. Somebody says, I want to be a student. I want to do this. I want to do something difficult. Sometimes somebody comes for your daughter, asks for their hand in marriage, and then you want to see, is he serious? So you'll say no, you'll say whatever, and you'll see how persistent they are, right? So Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, أَوَ غَيْرَ ذَلِكَ. What about something else? قُلْتُ هُوَ ذَاكَ. He said, no, that's all I want. It's that. So when Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he knew that it's a difficult thing, and it's a great thing that he's asking for, number 1. And number 2, this thing is going to take work on behalf of the Sahabi as well. So he wanted to see his shawq. Because it was just a thought that came to his mind, and if Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, what about something else? He would have just asked for something else. But he said, no, huwa zaka, it's that. Showing Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam that whatever this entails, ya Rasulullah, I'm willing to do it in order to get your companionship in Jannah. So when Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam saw his shawq, then Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he gave him the answer. فَقَالَ فَأَعِنِّي عَلَى نَفْسِكَ بِكَثْرَةِ السُّجُودِ. Assist me against yourself بِكَثْرَةِ السُّجُودِ, with abundant sujood. Rawahu Muslim. Okay? So now, we learn a couple of things from here. Number 1, this is in the chapter of Mujahada. The Mujahada, the struggle is that a person will make a lot of sajdas. When kasratu sujood, when a lot of sajda is mentioned in the hadith, this means a lot of salah, right? Because sajda to shukr is an ibadah, sure. And sajda tilawa is an ibadah, but sajda just walking around, okay, let me make 100 sajda, that's not an ibadah, right? Sajda becomes an ibadah when it's part of the salah. Okay? So Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam is praying Allah, saying, pray a lot of salah. Help me against your nafs, because your nafs has all sorts of different things in it, and you're going to be pulled here and there, and those things will take you away from Jannah. So in order to counteract that, what you should do is pray salah and make sajda. And Allah says in the Quran, wasjud waqtarib, make sajda, get near to Allah. And what this means, some of the muhaddisun, they say that every sajda has a special degree that it brings you closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and it causes you to ascend to the extent that one day a person will reach this level through additional sujood. Because the closest a person is to Allah is in sajda. Hadith of Muslim Sharif. So the more sajdas a person makes in the course of salah, they'll keep rising and rising in rank until they get to the rank where they have the companionship of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam in Jannah. Now the question is, how can a person be with Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam in Jannah? Because Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam has the highest level. Most high level in Jannah is Rasulullah. How can we be with him? So the answer to that is twofold. Number one, even in this dunya we have people who are at a higher level, but based on different decisions you made in your life, you may have access to them, right? You may have special access to them. So, I give you an example, if he calls me anytime day or night, I'll pick up. Other calls, I just let it go, right? But you got, why? Just because we have that relationship, right? So if somebody, you have that relationship, so in Jannah, Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam is in his place, but this Sahabi, he will have special, or this person, whoever it is that has the companionship of Rasulullah in Jannah, they will have access to Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, be able to see him whenever they want in Jannah. That's one thing. The other thing is, in Jannah, people can physically be together, but they are experiencing different levels of Jannah, though they might physically be together. We get a taste of this in this dunya as well, right? Let's say that somebody, they bring a delicious plate of biryani in front of you, right? One person, they take a bite, to them it's okay. Another person, they take 10 bites, they still want more, they're not satiated. One person, they take one, they want it, it's so good, I don't need anything else. Same with meeta, same with an apple, fruit. Different people perceive the same thing in completely different manners, such that one person is so happy and another person needs more and more because they're not satiated, right? Just like we experience pleasures differently in this world, in Jannah we'll be experiencing different pleasures in different degrees, though we may be together, right? Okay? One last thing that we learn from this is that, look, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, قُلْ إِن كُنْتُمْ تُحِبُّونَ اللَّهَ فَاتَّبِعُونِي يُحْبِبْكُمُ اللَّهُ. If you claim to love Allah, follow Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, Allah will love you, right? So, what we learn from this is, if a person wants connection to Allah, they must have connection with Rasulullah. And if a person wants connection with Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, they must have connection to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right? And when there's love between Allah and the servant, when the servant loves Allah and Allah loves the servant, the thing that needs to come in between to prove that this is real is the ittiba' and following the sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And this takes mujahada, because we need to fight our nafs in order to do this. I had other hadiths that I prepared, but it's been 20 minutes, inshallah. We'll stop here today. Inshallah, tomorrow there's another hadith regarding, actually this one hadith is short, so I'll just read it. It's the same topic, right? الثالث عشر hadith number 13 عن أبي عبد الله ويقال أبي عبد الرحمن. So there's two opinions about the kunya of the Sahabi. Some say Abu Abdullah, others say Abu Abdul Rahman. Thawban Mawla Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Thawban, the freed slave of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. He was a slave, he was originally from Yemen. Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam saw him, he bought him, he freed him. But he said that, I want to be with you, like Zayd bin Harisa radiallahu anhu. Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam freed him, he said, I'm going to serve you, right? Same thing, this Thawban radiallahu anhu, he said, Ya Rasulullah, you freed me, but I want to be with you, I want to be your khadim. So Thawban radiallahu anhu was the khadim of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. So he said, قال سمعت رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم يقول. He said, I heard Rasulullah صلى الله عليه وسلم say. Now look, there's a longer hadith of this in Muslim Sharif as well, in which Ma'dan bin Talha radiallahu anh, he asked Thawban radiallahu anh, tell me which action will cause me to be admitted to Jannah. So Thawban radiallahu anh said, I asked Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam this as well. So Yaqul, Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, Alayka bi kathrati sujood. It is binding upon you to make abundant sajdas, meaning pray abundant salah. This is mujahada. It's not easy, but we have to do it, right? Because when a person is in sajda, they're the closest to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. فَإِنَّكَ لَن تَسْجُدَ لِلَّهِ سَجْدَةً, because it's never that you make a sajda to Allah إِلَّا رَفَعَكَ اللَّهُ بِهَا دَرَجَةً, except that Allah raises you by a degree. وَحَطَّ عَنْكَ بِهَا خَطِيئَةً, and He causes a sin to drop from you. Rawahu Muslim. Imam Muslim, he narrates this. The ulama, they have a debate as well about whether or not, what is more virtuous. When a person is praying salah, pray a lot of rakats or do a lot of tilawah, do like a long rakat. So for example, a person has 1 hour to pray, right? So a person is praying for 1 hour, and they could either do 2 long rakats, or they could pray 8 rakats in that time, 10 rakats, 12 rakats. What is more virtuous? There's ulama on both sides. The one who say it's more virtuous to do more sunnahs, they use this hadith. To do more sajdas, they do this hadith. One other thing regarding, I was talking about the love and status of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. One poem I came across, very beautiful. Say, Khaq-e Zami tujhe mere lazim hai ihtiram. Khaq-e Zami tujhe mere lazim hai ihtiram. Ma'lum bhi hai tujhko ke mera hai kya maqam. Right? Khaq-e Zami tujhe mere lazim hai ihtiram. मालूम भी है तुझको कि मेरा है क्या मकाम, जिसके लिए ये खल्क हुई कायनात सब, खातमुर रसूल का हूँ मैं अदना सा गुलाम. Right? And this poem, this Azam Ibrahim Sahib, he told me, it was another teacher in Darul. He wasn't alim, but he was a just teacher. He used to teach history. This was his poem. He was a good poet. So then one day he had a heart attack there in Darul. He passed away. So then when they were burying him, he wrote this on a paper. He put it in his kafan. He said, Inshallah, Zameen aapki bhi ihtiram karega. That the soil, it will honor you because of this poem. What the poem means is that it's saying, oh soil of the earth, it's binding upon you to respect me. Do you know what my status is? The one for whom this whole universe was created, Khatamur Rasul sallallahu alayhi wasallam, I'm his lowest servant. Yet he's so high, even his lowest servant deserves respect of all of the creation. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make us true ushaq of Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, and those who love Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wa akhiru da'wana.